Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to invite His Excellency the President Ratu Epeli to deliver his speech. Please let us welcome him.
The United Nations Resident Representative, My Excellency Ms. Osnat Mabrani, the UNAIDS Country Director for the Pacific Island countries, Mr. Tim Ruabuhemba, Permanent Secretary for Youth and Sports, Josefa Sunil, members of the HIV/AIDS Board, representatives of key donor agencies, representatives of government partners, civil society, and key affected populations, media personnel, ladies and gentlemen, members of the youth group, boys and girls. Good morning, Nisambula Vinaka, Salam Alaikum, Namaste. Today is World AIDS Day. It is a day and a time of year that gives an opportunity for people worldwide to further unite in the response against HIV, show their continuing support for people living with HIV, and to remember those who died from HIV/AIDS. Today, we stand together in solidarity and reflect on the progress that we are making in our response to HIV and its impact on individuals, families, and communities. Although the World AIDS Day is a great opportunity to get the public talking about HIV, we need to remember the importance of raising awareness of HIV/AIDS all year round, not just today. As the President of Fiji and Fiji's HIV ambassador, I take this opportunity to acknowledge the work of government partners, donors, civil society organizations, key affected populations, and friends in our efforts with Fiji HIV response. I also acknowledge the lead role of the Ministry of Health through the HIV/AIDS Board in committing to mark the global event on a national calendar and reminding Fiji of the ongoing response to HIV and AIDS. We have lived with HIV/AIDS now for nearly 4 decades. Back in the early years, many of us would not have imagined this day when we would be focusing or talking about the possibility of getting to zero with HIV. We never imagined this day as well when we will be saying with conviction in our hearts that AIDS will lose. Today is the day where we all recommit ourselves to taking the response forward. Today, many scientific advances have been made in HIV treatment. We have laws to protect not only people living with HIV, but those affected as well. And we understand so much more about the epidemic. But despite all of these, people still ignore or are ignorant of how to protect themselves and others from HIV. World AIDS Day is important as it reminds the public, like you and me, and government, that HIV has not gone away. There is still a vital need to raise money, increase awareness, fight prejudice against stigma and discrimination, and improve education on the epidemic. Leaders in government, community organizations, churches, parents, people living with HIV and affected by HIV and AIDS, young people, including the key affected population, we need to continue to work together in response to the HIV. We need to continue to look forward to a Fiji with zero new HIV infections, zero AIDS-related deaths, and zero discrimination. The National Planning Working Group, designated by the HIV/AIDS Board, will coordinate 2014 World AIDS Day, and will again recognize the global achievements in the fight against HIV and AIDS and highlight the progress Fiji has made. Also, they will highlight the shortfalls experienced in the areas of governance, accessibility of services, and integrated prevention programs. Now, Fiji's latest HIV statistics continues to remind us of the need to continue to support the response to HIV and AIDS. Although there is a reduction in the number of new infections globally, the same cannot be said about Fiji. The global response reports a decline in new HIV infections, including infections in many Pacific Island countries. However, Fiji, as of September 2014, reports a cumulative total of 578 confirmed HIV cases since 1989, which is 32 new cases for the year 2014. That is up to September. The number of new HIV cases continue to rise in the country. Over 70% of the total is reported to be through heterosexual transmission, and the epidemic evidently affecting our young people, with over 50% falling within the age group of 20 to 29, an important group of the most productive citizens between the ages of 20 to 49. This year's theme, as decided by the HIV/AIDS Board, is drawn from the 3 zeros that the world envisages. 0 new infections, 0 discrimination, 0 AIDS-related deaths. It is also linked to the Global AIDS Day theme, Close the Gap. Fiji's World AIDS Day theme for 2014 is AIDS Will Lose. AIDS Will Lose focuses on the progress that Fiji has had towards its response to HIV and AIDS. This includes the implementation of the 2012 to 2015 National Strategic Plan and for STI and HIV and AIDS. B, to increase the number of voluntary confidential counseling and testing, VCCT, and the prevention of parent-to-child transmission, PPTCT. Counselors to conduct confidential counseling in public health facilities at divisional and subdivisional level. Continuing the expansion of HIV testing sites from the 3 hub centers in Lautoka, Lambasa, and Suva to subdivisional hospitals and health centers across the country. D, invigorating antiretroviral therapy and option B+ to pregnant HIV-positive mothers as part of the prevention of mother-to-child transmission program. E, ensuring the increase in number of people living with HIV who are on antiretroviral treatment. F, implementing the HIV/AIDS Decree 2011. G, the rolling out of new HIV algorithm test to subdivisional hospitals. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to say that Fiji has made tremendous progress in most areas, sadly not all, through a collaborative approach, and I believe that we are on the right track to ending AIDS. I am also pleased that the progress we are making is being recognized regionally and internationally. As Fiji's special representative on HIV and AIDS, I had set a target 2 years ago to complete visiting all secondary schools throughout Fiji to help create further awareness on HIV and AIDS. The secondary schools comprise persons who are categorized by the United Nations as being in the most vulnerable age group, that is, from 14 years and upwards. I have so far visited 160 secondary schools and personally interacted with over 60,000 students, teachers, and parents. I have not been able to complete all the secondary schools this year due to official engagements involving traveling overseas. But I intend to complete visiting the remaining 20 schools by the first term of 2015. I place high priority on my school visits because we are dealing with very active and inquisitive minds. These are the very persons who will carry our nation into the future. We need to invest in their knowledge base and help safeguard their future. Our task as parents, church, and community leaders is to help save our young people by talking to them about the implications of diseases such as HIV and AIDS. No bull. Everything must be factual. At the same time, we also need to create greater public understanding to remove stereotype thinking about HIV and AIDS. Our target should be zero discrimination against people living with HIV and AIDS. We need greater public empathy to enable people living with HIV and AIDS to move on in life. Many of them have families, including children. They must be helped and protected. I would like to acknowledge the carers and family members, many of you who are here today, who continuously provide support to those infected with HIV. They are the unsung heroes and heroines of the fight against HIV and AIDS. Be reminded that you are not alone in this battle. We walk with you. We also acknowledge the contribution of many dedicated health professionals, the nurses, doctors, pharmacists, and all others who come face to face with the epidemic and provide care and support to the infected. They must keep up the good work on our behalf, and we must give them the support. In the past, the disease was hidden. Most did not want to know their status and did not seek treatment or to even come forward. This is slowly decreasing. I encourage everyone who knows that they are at risk to take an HIV test. Knowing your status is important, so be responsible. Get a blood test. Government has said that it will be responsible for all ART treatment in Fiji. I don't have any doubt that it will keep that promise. So you play your part, and government will play its part and continue to do so. The UN AIDS Gap Report has challenged us to one painful truth. Too many are being left behind today. If we want a world of peace and stability, then the needs of those living with HIV and also the needs of key affected population, including people with disabilities, must be addressed. We also cannot ignore the increasing rate of TB in our country. Our efforts to prevent people from dying with AIDS-related deaths will be lost if they are co-infected with TB. The government is committed to adequately and effectively treating this pandemic as best as we can in collaboration with all the various stakeholders, like your good selves that are gathered here today. Today, I wish to make a special appeal to all citizens of Fiji that together we must eliminate stigma and discrimination, not only for those living with and affected by HIV, but also for the key affected population. I appeal to the business community, non-governmental organizations, and religious sectors to continue working with government in this endeavor. We know that the Ministry of Health is on a drive to deal with non-communicable diseases, NCDs, and to help people live healthy using wellness concept. Well, that is good. But if we are not spreading the news around and encouraging people to ensure that how they live and how they protect themselves is valid to the future of this nation, then we would find ourselves only dealing with symptoms and effects and not having to deal with the reality that says prevention is always better than cure. We must use all of the avenues available to us to get this powerful message out. And that message is, let us all get to zero. Let us remind ourselves that AIDS will lose. Overcoming HIV and AIDS in Fiji cannot be accomplished by one person, you or me, or organization, one organization. We must all participate. As the President of Fiji, I echo the words that the Executive Director of UNAIDS and Under-Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Michael Sidibe, said regarding World AIDS Day. And I quote at random, but with feeling. Quote, on World AIDS Day, let us reflect on the lives lost to Ebola, on the countries and people affected by the outbreak in West Africa. The Ebola outbreak reminds us of the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. People were hiding and scared. Stigma and discrimination were widespread. There were no medicines and there was little hope. But today, thanks to the global solidarity, social mobilization, and civil society activism, we have been able together to transform tragedy into opportunity. We have been able to break the conspiracy of silence, to reduce the price of medicine and break the trajectory of the AIDS epidemic. This has saved many lives, unquote. Quote, on World AIDS Day 2014, it is time to redouble our efforts, to fast-track our actions and close the gap between people who have access to HIV prevention, treatment, care, and support services, and people who are being left behind. By fast-tracking countries, cities, and communities, we can reach people most affected by HIV. And with fast-track targets like 90, 90, 90, we can ensure that by 2020, 90% of people living with HIV know their status. 90% of people who know their HIV positive status are on treatment. And that 90% of people on treatment have suppressed viral loads. So let us join together this World AIDS Day to close the gap, unquote. We can achieve the goal of an AIDS-free generation and achieve our aim that AIDS will lose. And one of the most proven, safe methods worldwide is to be wise, practice safe sex, use a condom. Thank you, Vinaka Bakalevu, Shukriya, Bahut, Dynavad.